Seahawks fans, good morning, and I hope you got your cup of coffee ready because Seattle, they've gone out and signed Aldon Smith. It is the breaking news that we're breaking down for you on today's show. Now, we'll get into the whole deal. We'll get into everything that you need to know about this, but this is the exact reason why we're always telling y'all, hey, go ahead and subscribe to the channel here because when the Seahawks make a move, we're going to be able to break it down for you. So what I want you to do, hit that big red button that says subscribe, and then turn on those notifications. That way, you are updated on all things going on around the Seahawks. So Aldon Smith, he has agreed to a one-year deal with Seattle. This is a pretty interesting move considering the fact that Seattle has been interested in Smith before. And when you go all the way back to just a little bit earlier on in 2020, there was some trade interest there. They, poked around a little bit. They were asking the Cowboys, hey, what's his overall value? They couldn't quite get a deal done at the trade deadline. And now you see this. Seattle figures out a way to go ahead and bring Smith in. Now, as I am making this video right now, we unfortunately do not have the contract details just because we're able to make it so quick. But he did start all 16 games last season for the Dallas Cowboys, and this is going to be able to add a little bit more pass rush here for Seattle. And for those of you that don't know, we also talked about this before because guess what? He visited with the team literally yesterday. So Smith, he had his by far, the best game that he has had in quite some time. This goes all the way back to week 3 against the Seahawks when he played for the Cowboys in 2020. He was an absolute wrecking ball in this game. People want to talk about NASCAR packages. People want to talk about pedal to the metal. It's exactly what Smith was able to do. 4 tackles, 3 sacks. Now, remember, he only had 5 sacks the whole season, so 3 of them came against Seattle. You had a pass breakup. So for Pete Carroll, he was really able to see, okay, how can I use this guy? And at 6'4", 265 pounds, sure, he's getting up there in age a little bit. It's never really been about physical ability. You know that Smith is a very physical athlete. It's always been, how determined is he? And he is coming off one of the better years. 48 tackles, the 5 sacks, the 5 tackles for loss, and the 2 fumble recoveries. But all I'm going to say is this. It's more of a tale of 2 tapes, right? You have Smith's first 5 games this past year. He was phenomenal. And actually, I had some people telling me, hey, don't be surprised if this guy wins defensive comeback player of the year. That's how great he was. 26 tackles, the 3 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 pass breakup. But look at that pressure rate, 17.12%, okay? That's the first 5 games. But then I think he was a little bit out of shape in terms of football shape. So 22 tackles, the 2 tackles for loss, sack, pass breakup, the pressure rate falls all the way down to 8.86%. That's the last 11 games. So now let's look at the updated Seahawks defensive line depth chart. I still have Benny Mayowa over Aldon Smith there on the right side. But if there was one thing that I understand that Seattle was really trying to do this offseason, it's really bolster that defensive line. Obviously, you were able to bring back Poona Ford, which is really going to help cement the interior. But then what did they try to do? They're like, okay, how can I make sure that we were able to keep guys happy? They ended up bringing in Aldon Smith. You made sure that you brought back Carlos Dunlap, who I actually thought had a pretty good year once he signed with Seattle last year. 14 tackles, the 6 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, but the 14 quarterback hits. Now, they also went out and made a move for Kerry Hyder, who's coming off probably his best year of his career, 49 tackles, the 10 tackles for loss, the 8.5 sacks, and then Benson Mayowa. I think Benson Mayowa is one of the most underrated, most underappreciated players in the NFL because he's not this guy who's going to light up the stat sheet every single week, but he does his job, and he does his job exceptionally well. The 24 tackles, the 7 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles last season. So now you have Benny Mayowa, you have Kerry Hyder, you have Carlos Dunlap, and then Aldon Smith. That's 4 players that might not be none of them might be a true A+. But a lot of teams would be very, very jealous of having those type of 4 real edge rushers, especially Seattle's also coming off a year where they had a pretty good time getting after the quarterback with 46 sacks. So let's go back to school, y'all. I know it's early. You're like, wait a minute, man. I'm on the West Coast here. I'm just waking up, and you're already asking me to do something? Yes, I am. So grade the Seahawks signing of Aldon Smith. I want you to go down in the comments and be honest with me here. If you think it's a great move, type A. If you think it's a good move, type B. Average C. D is bad. F is failing. I'm going to give this a C grade because I do think it's an average move, and if he has his head on straight, it might even be a B. It could even be an A. And if he plays the way that he did, and well, against Seattle back in week 3, I mean, it's an A+. And if he plays the way that he did the first 5 weeks, that's great. The issue is this. For Seattle, and I think everyone who's watching this would agree, it's not how you start the season, it's how you end the season. And this is one of the best football teams the first 5-6 weeks of the year, especially obviously carried by Russell Wilson. But then there's a little bit of a downfall, and this is a football team that can't just be good in September and October. You need to be better January, because that's probably the most important time of the year. Now, the NFL draft, y'all, it's right around the corner, and I know the 12s out there, you are by far some of the most dedicated fans that I've ever seen. So if you want to go ahead and rep your favorite team on draft day, which is, again, coming up here April 29th, go to chatsports.com/Seattle Draft. We have a whole bunch of brand new draft hats. Now, they come in like the trucker style, the curved brim, the flat brim. There's fitted. There's the adjustable backs. There's like 8 or 9 different types of hats here. But I'm going to be honest with y'all, because you guys are just insane fans that you are. Once we show these bad boys, they are going to go very quickly. So if you haven't already, go ahead, get your draft hat. They're under $40. And if you can't remember chatsports.com/Seattle Draft, don't worry. I'll put this link in the comments and in the description. So what do you guys think about this here, okay? How will Seattle use Aldon Smith? Because that's a big-time question. I know a little bit earlier on the show I was talking about, okay, he's going to be an edge rusher. I got him behind Benson Mayo. And some of you might be like, well, is that really the way they're going to use him? I'm going to say this. I want you to think about this, okay? I'm going to give you a name. I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as a Bruce Irvin, but don't be surprised if Seattle lines him up as a linebacker and really allows him to be a stand-up guy who can get after the quarterback and really fill in that Bruce Irvin style of role here. Because when you think about it, edge was a need, but linebacker is a bigger need here. And if Smith's able to come in and be that strong side linebacker that this team desperately needs, which really then allows you to have, obviously, Bobby Wagner, still one of the best in the business up the middle. And then it allows you to have Brooks, the guy you drafted in round 1, get a little bit better. And this could be another reason why you potentially see Seattle not bring back a guy like KJ Wright, even though he is a phenomenal player. But everything I see, they're investing their money in the secondary. They're investing their money on the edge. This also could lead to them doing something in the draft here. So what do you guys think? How many sacks for Aldon Smith in 2021? He's coming off a year where he had 5 sacks before. Obviously, you want to talk about a stellar career. It's been ups, and there's been a lot of downs as well. But you can't deny the talent. And if he's put in the right scheme, which I do think that Pete Carroll and company is going to be able to do the right things here because they use Benny well, they use Carlos Dunlap well, and now with a little bit of an extra boost and motor around Kerry Hyder, I'm curious, how many sacks for Aldon Smith in 2021? So the NFL draft, y'all, it is right around the corner, and I do want to remind you one more time to go ahead and subscribe. And for everyone who is already subbed, take the link that y'all see below, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, and send it to some friends. So after the move here, Smith, I want to give you guys an updated look at the team needs. Cornerback is still the biggest need. Wide receiver, center, offensive tackle, and then defensive tackle are still probably the Seahawks' biggest team needs. The issue is for them, they don't have any draft picks here due to some trades that they've made, and I love me some Jamal Adams, but, only having 3 picks this year. So in the 2nd round, the 4th round, and the 7th round, the question that I'm going to hit you all with before I leave here is this. Who do you think the Seahawks are going to draft at 56 overall? When I look at a lot of the players on the draft board, I actually like a lot of the depth in terms of some players at linebacker that Seattle could go out and get. Maybe they want to go out and get another top cornerback if some of those guys fall. But what I want you to do is get those votes in. Let me know who should Seattle draft at 56 overall.